Hi everyone, this is Jeremiah Wong from Frontier Precision, and today I'm going to make a quick video on how to plan a LIDAR mission within Auterion Mission Control. So let's begin. So what we'll start doing is we will start Auterion Mission Control, and we'll get to the main screen. We're going to go to the top left, we're going to click on that little arrow icon, and then we're going to go to Plan. Once we go to plan, it kicks us into the mission planning side of things. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to find the area we're going to fly, which is right here, and we're going to click on this button right here. We're going to want to do an aerial survey, so we're just going to click on survey, and then now you see the box comes up, the polygon box comes up. So we're just going to move these dots to where we want them to go. So I'm going to pick the corners, and then what I'll do is if we wanted to add more nodes, we just click on this plus button and we can add some more nodes. I'll add another node right here, another one right here. So now that we have our boundary picked that we want for our flight, we're going to have to go over it on this side and change some of these settings. One thing you will notice is if we go on this list, you'll see camera type. This is for the Sony A7 R4. So this is not the camera we want if we're going to be planning our LiDAR missions. So for us to go through and change this, all we need to do is we'll go to this camera icon right here and then click manual, no camera specs. Because there are no specs that we would type in or enter in when it comes to LiDAR. We kind of just want it to fly the flight line that we want it to fly. So after we do that, we can go back to our mission planning settings. So in terms of planning this mission, there are a couple ways to do it. But the main way that I do it is I will go through, so inside the manual, usually most manuals, at least for the Yellow Scan Mapper Plus, we have a couple charts. So I pulled these directly out of the manual for the Yellow Scan Mapper Plus. But these two charts help me in planning the mission. So the one on the left will give me my swath width, so how wide my flight line or how wide the flight data capture will be at a specific flight height. So for this mission, I'm going to be flying it at 60 meters. So if I go on 60 meters and up, my swath width is going to be, I would say, approximately 80 meter swath. So if I wanted to have my 50% overlap with my LiDAR data, I would cut that 80 meter swath in half to 40. So knowing that, we can come to here and we can see spacing. So the spacing is the side-to-side distance of these flight lines. So as we found out, we want to make that 40. So I'm going to type in 40 and hit enter. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the next chart right here, so the mapper point density by flight, height, and speed. So we said we're going to fly at 60 meters, and if I go up to right here, it looks like flying at 5 meters a second at 60 meters will net us about 550 points per square meter. This is pretty darn good by all aspects in terms of points on the ground. So when we go over here, we want to change our flight speed to 5 meters a second, and then our altitude, we want to change that to 60 meters. So now we have our flight speed, our altitude, and our spacing of our flight lines to get our 50% overlap. There is no trigger distance because LiDAR doesn't have a trigger distance. And this right here is our pattern angle. So let's say we wanted to change the orientation of our flight lines. We can easily go through and do that. I kind of like how this works better though. Turnaround distance is the lines outside of the boundaries, how much distance or how much margin you want over your boundary line that you want it to fly. Remember, the more data you get, the better, because it's always better to have more than not enough. All right. So under here, there are certain options too. Again, I usually never really check these. If you wanted to fly perpendicular lines too, you could check this box right here, refly at 90, and I'll actually go through and get you that checkerboard pattern. But in general, I usually leave the options unchecked. The next thing to take a look at too is, depending on what you're flying, if it's a lot of flat land or if it's mountainous or hilly, you might want to do terrain following. So to turn on terrain following, where it will download those SRTM maps, all you got to do is you go to this mountain icon and then you click Vehicle Follows Terrain. So now we'll actually go through, download those terrain maps. Download those terrain maps, and it will do terrain following. And you can see this little icon that I clicked here. It's not a very mountainous or hilly area right here, but you can kind of see that there is some elevation change, and it kind of accounts for that too. So now it's terrain following. So now if we go back to our mission, we'll take a look at it. All my settings are correct. All these settings are correct. Yep. And that is pretty much planning a mission in Artillery Mission Control for LIDAR. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at UAS at frontierprecision.com. Hopefully this helps you guys out, and I will talk to you guys later.